Wow, now this is what I call a blast off. Welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, Stanley Sticky Fingers, and boy, do we have some data to be sharing with you today. Guys, at this point, it's extremely clear that Bitcoin has hit a roof, a ceiling, a wall. In fact, there is a very extremely clear level of resistance that Bitcoin has been running into for quite a while now, but we have some upward trending support as well. So we're going to be delving into exactly what's going on in the 1, 4, 6 hour, and as well this daily and weekly chart. But the breakout target and time frame are by far what are most interesting about this specific pattern. Wow, and guys, thank you so much for all the likes and subscribes, and remember, all comments always do enter you for Ledger equivalent BTC or access to T4. Milk lemonade, let's stack this Bitcoin so we can get paid, guys. So it is very clear looking at this chart, and this is something that rings true for days now on so many of these different charts about where Bitcoin is coming into resistance. Guys, take one quick look at this chart and you tell me what a massive level of resistance for Bitcoin is. That's right, it is exactly the point of control. This level right here, the 19,200, let me try and make that a little more straight. Geesh Louise, $19,200 roughly, right? This is on the 1 or the 4 hour chart. See the exact same thing on the 1 hour chart, exact same thing here on the 6 hour chart. And if we just take a look on the daily chart, I mean, obviously this is just exactly where we are. And even going back the last month and a half on the daily chart, that is where this most accumulated level of volume is, guys, 19,200. So what exactly is going on here? If we start here on the daily chart, one thing that I want to point out first is on the RSI. So this massive rally that began pretty much at the beginning, or kind of like the first 2 weeks of October, the entire rally was built on bouncing on the 70 line. So pretty much keeping Bitcoin in the overbought territory. But you see, we've since gone below that. We tried to get a retest above that, and we've gotten rejected. Now, currently, this is actually a very key level, right around the 53 line. And this is just a level that repeats as well for support on rallies. Okay, guys, for example, when we broke through it back in July, that's when Bitcoin went from about 9,000 to 12.5. When we broke back above it back in April, that's when Bitcoin really actually started to get a little exciting. If you guys remember back then, 7,000 all the way up to 10,000. That was a big deal back then, especially as we were crawling out of the clutches of despair from what happened in March there. Same thing, this very nice rally. I remember this inverse head and shoulder that broke out with the head being formed basically in December of last year. That's when we broke out from there. I remember tracking this specific pattern for weeks on this channel before it happened. And yeah, 7,000 all the way up to over 10,000 again. It was a really big deal back then. Breaking above 10,000 was huge. 10,000.5 was actually a really big deal, considering back in October of 2019, it was a very strong rejection that we got there. So basically, we can keep going back. I mean, you can see the same thing happened in March of 2019 all the way until June of 2019 on that exact rally from 4,000 to 14,000. That was finding support, though, right around 53, 54 on the RSI line. So basically, I mean, we're not going to spend much more time just showing you the exact same thing over and over again, but the RSI bouncing at this level is very key. And even though we dipped a little below it, you can see there was support initially here. And as long as we remain above this as well, this is a short-term bullish indicator also. This is on the daily chart. You see something a little bit different if you go to the weekly chart, but we still haven't reached the heights that we even were reaching back in previous rallies. But basically, that is to say, guys, do we still have momentum left on the daily chart? I would say yes. Now, I'm not making a call there. I'm simply saying, do we have room technically left to run up? Yes, we do. And actually, it looks like we're going to be getting a potential over the next few days cross on the MACD, a bullish cross, after we set a bearish cross back about 3 weeks ago at the very end of November. And then we ended up going to 16,000. We set that little bit of a bearish cross. Now it looks as though we're going to be getting a bullish cross on the daily. And weekly, we set a bullish cross quite a while ago, so nothing to really be concerned about there. But at this point, it's painfully clear that $19,200 is a very big level of resistance for Bitcoin, and it makes a lot of sense. It's not out of left field. We're basically just trading at all-time highs at this point, and we're forming structure at all-time highs. And it's actually a little more bullish than you would think, considering we're literally at all-time highs and we haven't gotten pushed down that much, right? We got pushed down to 16,000 US dollars, and then most recently 17,006, yet we keep finding support. So so far, if we had to basically just make a call over the last month how Bitcoin has been performing, it's been performing extremely bullishly, especially in a scenario where you're trading right at all-time highs, and you would think that we could get pushed down pretty significantly at any point. And if you look at the weekly chart, I mean, there's a fair amount of room that we could go down to the downside, and it would make perfect technical sense, yet we're not. We haven't done that. So that brings me to this here, which in my opinion is probably one of the most interesting patterns that's being formed. This, now we originally had as a symmetrical triangle, but given the fact that 19,200 US dollars is just such an incredibly strong level of resistance that is validated on pretty much every single time frame as well as being the biggest level of resistance to look at, I think this makes a lot of sense right here, 19,200-ish roughly. Okay, and with the top of this, actually I have it about 19,004. Give or take a few $100s when you're drawing patterns to make room for certain wicks and candle closes and everything like that. But I honestly think that this is actually a really valid pattern. It's a bullish pattern, right? It's a continuation pattern. And also what's really interesting about it, it's a continuation pattern that appears mid-trend, which would line up exactly as something we've mentioned before, where we're in the middle of a big pump right now, a parabolic rally, and this could be basically the midway point, a very nice consolidation point before continuing higher. And if that were the case, obviously Bitcoin would have a lot of room to go to the upside over the next few months. And guys, with triangles and this pattern specifically, they usually do break out around this area. I have it marked on the chart. And guys, the breakout time frame of this would actually put us in about, it would start to be valid to expect a very strong breakout out of this, basically anywhere from 50% of the pattern being complete to about 75%. So this is about 75% right here. It's a 36-day long pattern based on these measurements, and day 27 would be roughly about 75%. And right about here would be 50%. So basically this entire area right here is the most likely area that this pattern will break out. So as you can see, based on this drawing, we have just entered within the last few 6-hour candles this area to where it makes sense to get a breakout here. So expecting a breakout at this point is reasonable. The breakout target of this is actually all the way above 22,000 US dollars if this is in fact the pattern, and if it breaks out to completion. Which, the most interesting thing about this pattern is that it's not like we're going to get maybe 20% to completion of what this breakout could be, and then we're going to run into a lot of overhead resistance. Because what's interesting about where we are right now is that we're like knocking right on the door of what all-time highs are anyway. So if we just get this another 4% move, if we only move 4% of Bitcoin's price, we'll be over 20,000 US dollars, and we won't have literally zero previous overhead resistance. It'll be a blue sky breakout, absolute sky's the limit. And what's awesome about that is it makes the full breakout potential of these patterns much easier. If you're trading a pattern and you're right underneath, maybe you're 10% underneath like a very huge resistance zone, and your pattern is expected to break out like a little bit above that, very often you run into resistance right where that big resistance zone is, and you don't get the full breakout. But what's awesome about this is if we get a breakout at this level, which basically the very top of this triangle is literally all-time highs. The very top of this triangle is the highest that Bitcoin's ever been. So if we break above this very, very small window that's above us, again, only 4% above what Bitcoin is currently trading, if we break above that, it's very likely that we're actually going to complete the breakout. And that's why I think it makes a lot of sense that once we actually break 20,000, we're not going to stop at $20,100 from what I understand and what I believe. I think we're going to, we're probably going to go very far past that. And these last few weeks of consolidation immediately under 20,000 US dollars makes that much more likely as well. It gives Bitcoin some pressure building up so that Bitcoin can make a move more than just a couple $100s, right? Maybe we can get a $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 move, $3,000 weekly candle when we actually break out of this pattern. Okay, guys, keep in mind, this is just a speculative pattern. There are so many things we've been covering over the last few days, but this video specifically is dedicated to this bullish scenario. Again, just something I'm watching. The breakout time frame is now until basically December 24th even. So basically right around Christmas. So I think it's very likely that now in the next 11 days, so almost 2 weeks or about a week and a half, we could get a breakout any of those days. And to the upside, I think it would be very strong. We could always break to the downside, which I think that if we actually do break to the downside, if we come back down to these levels of about 18.4, 18.3, especially if we break 18.6, but if we continue to actually set these higher lows, but we just keep setting lows, then again, this is a bearish pattern that we've been watching for a long time as well. And this would actually break down. I think saying that Bitcoin would break to 13 and 14 is getting a little less likely as Bitcoin holds at some of these key levels. So we're still watching all of these patterns Over the next few days, it's also critical that we hold above this 21-day moving average, because that's something we've been unable to do the entire year of 2020 after we've repeated this exact scenario, something we've been covering for weeks at this point. So holding above 21, the 21-day moving average is critical. Right now, the 21-day moving average is actually right around 18,600, and that pretty much lines up with this as well. If we break below that level, again, we're going to revisit the bottom of this. It's very likely we're going to break down. So key now is holding above the 21-day. It looks as though we're kind of in the middle of this breakout now, but obviously it's not a breakout as we see no increase in volume. We see Bitcoin price just completely stay stagnant. And again, that's why I lean more towards this being the actual pattern, because this very key level of resistance right here is something not new. It's something we've been seeing for weeks and weeks, but just watch out for that. Basically, from today until December 24th, is basically a free-for-all. Basically, Bitcoin can break out of here, and it makes complete sense. This is the most likely time frame that Bitcoin will break out of this. And again, if we actually get just a very small 4% breakout, then basically the sky is the limit. I say if we break 20,000 US dollars, it's going to be extremely easy to hit 21,000, to hit 22,000. But that difference between 19,300 and 20,000 US dollars is really the very difficult area, right? Everything above 20,000 I think is going to come very easy, but the trick is getting actually to 20,000 US dollars. Poggies, awesome guys. So if you're new to the channel, as always, make sure to subscribe, make sure to leave your comment below to enter for those giveaways. Make sure to smash the like as well, guys, and as well massive trading bonuses below, whether it's Bybit, Femex, and Dudex as well. If you want to support the channel, and guys, always be safe. Good times are right around the corner. This is probably, from what I understand, this is going to be like the last boring period of Bitcoin's price before we break 20K, right? Whether we get one more rejection down to 17,000 or we smash through 20K in the next week and a half. Make sure you're prepared now, guys. Whatever you got to do, whether it's get hardware wallets, whether it's get exchanges set up, do it now. This is, in my opinion, it's been kind of boring the last few days, but this is when you want to get all of those things done because it's going to happen fast. In fact, it's actually a fact that most of Bitcoin's big movements, most of the massive pumps, actually is like less than 5% of the time, right? So all of the biggest moves for Bitcoin to the downside and the upside are actually just a fraction of the time of Bitcoin's existence. Most of the time, Bitcoin actually does trade more so sideways than not.